Hi, Tootsie Carlson here. Steven Spielberg is certainly one of the best known and revered directors of all time, and it was the movie Jaws that put his career on the map way back in 1975. That's 50 years, and for the 50th anniversary of Jaws, Universal has given the film a reissue on 4K, featuring the film on 4K, Blu-ray, and also a Blu-ray of a new documentary on the making of the film. I'm going to unbox this release and share my opinions. There's our cover art there, of course. The shark and the skinny dipper, one of the most iconic images in cinema. There's our spine text. Back cover. Under the slipcover, the art is largely the same. We do get a digital code of the film. There's also an ad on here for other movies from Universal Studios. We get the movie in 4K. We also get the movie in Blu-ray. Both the Blu-ray and the 4K do include the bonus features. Universal is one of the few studios that does that. And then we have this new documentary called Jaws at 50. You're going to need a bigger boat. Directed by Academy Award winner Steven Spielberg, Jaws set the standard for edge-of-your-seat suspense, quickly becoming a cultural phenomenon and forever changing the movie industry. When the seaside community of Amity finds itself under attack by a dangerous great white shark, the town's chief of police, a young marine biologist, and a grizzled shark hunter embark on a desperate quest to destroy the beast before it strikes again. Featuring an unforgettable score that evokes pure terror, Jaws remains one of the most influential and gripping adventures in motion picture history. The production of Jaws was infamously troubled, with defective mechanical sharks and the movie going over schedule and over budget, to the point that a very young Steven Spielberg, at the time only in his late 20s, was uncertain if it'd ever work again, thinking he might even get fired from the picture. Ironically, it ended up becoming the movie that made his career and has become a pop culture phenomenon for folks all around the world. Jaws doesn't really need a whole lot of description, because I'm not sure there's anyone on earth who hasn't seen this movie, and if you haven't seen it, you've at least heard of it. The movie, of course, revolves around great white shark attacks at the island community of Amity, and it's up to the town chief of police, Martin Brody, played by Roy Scheider, to team up with a marine biologist played by Richard Dreyfuss and an older shark hunter portrayed by Robert Shaw, and the trio set out on the high seas to try to take out the shark before it can continue to wreak havoc on the waters off the coast of Amity. What's really amazing about this movie is it's a movie that's actually better than its source material. The movie is, of course, based on a novel written by author Peter Benchley, but the movie streamlines the story considerably, getting rid of a lot of unnecessary subplots from the book, including things like adultery and the mafia. And I have to say, it actually makes the end result here all the more streamlined and pleasing. There's also a fantastic supporting cast here, including Murray Hamilton portraying the mayor of Amity, who of course is looking out for the town's financial interests, Carl Gottlieb, who also worked as a screenwriter on the film, playing one of the townspeople, Jeffrey Kramer portraying Deputy Hendricks, and Lorraine Gary portraying Mrs. Brody, who brings a sense of levity and humanity to the picture. And everyone in this movie does an excellent job. What's really amazing about this movie is the troubled production in some ways actually ended up working to the film's advantage. Many mechanical sharks were made to be used on the film, but the salt water corroded them, some of them sank to the bottom of the ocean, and some just plain didn't work. So they came up with a rather novel technique of showing the shark as little as possible, using first-person perspective shots and just, occasional glances here and there. I mean, the first kill in this movie is easily one of the most famous kills in cinema history. You never see the shark once during this sequence, and it's all the scarier because of it. Even the second kill in the movie, you only see a brief flash of its fins on the surface. They really go for that whole less is more thing here, and it works brilliantly. So many movies tried to copy what Jaws did, but none of them ever fully succeeded. And what would this movie be without the musical score? The musical score, of course, composed by the great John Williams, arguably cinema's greatest scorer of all time. Of course, after this, he'd go on to a promising career scoring films like the Star Wars series and Jurassic Park, that film, of course, also directed by Spielberg. Another thing that sets Jaws apart is the fact that it was filmed on location in New England coastal towns. So, according to the bonus features, only about 8 people in this movie came from Hollywood to New England to film the movie. Almost everyone else in the movie is played by native islanders, and this really helps lend a sense of authenticity to the final product. It's a beautifully shot film. It brings the suspense, and this movie is just as chilling now as it was 50 years ago. Often imitated but never duplicated, Jaws is one movie that I will never get tired of. The performances from the central trio, especially Robert Shaw, who sadly passed away a few years after the film came out, are top-notch. Supporting cast is just as good. It's beautifully shot. It's beautifully scored. Jaws is cinema at its absolute finest. Jaws first came out on 4K back around 2020. This package, the Blu-ray and the 4K, are identical to the previously released discs, so there's nothing new on those particular discs. Picture quality here still looks absolutely phenomenal. The extra little punch from HDR gives it that added atmosphere over its 1080p counterparts, so a lot of those darker night scenes out on the ocean or on the shores look better than ever. But then you have scenes on the beaches of Amity with people wearing, brightly colored bathing suits and towels, and those pop right off the screen. This is the kind of movie that deserves the absolute best restoration possible, and I'm happy to say that Universal has given it to Jaws in this release. Again, this is the same transfer that appeared on the 2020 release, but that's not a bad thing. The bonus features are all carried over from the prior releases of the film, so we have some older making of documentaries, deleted scenes, outtakes, documentaries on the Jaws phenomenon. But this release adds in an extra Blu-ray disc, and it gives us a brand new documentary called Jaws at 50. And this one adds in interviews with a lot of other film stars and filmmakers, including the likes of Jordan Peele, Emily Blunt, Guillermo del Toro, to name a few. There is a lot of footage that also has appeared in older documentaries, so it's not all completely new, but it probably is the best of the documentaries you'll find in this collection. I mean, there's a ton of documentaries here. It seems like every time they put out a new anniversary edition of Jaws, they put out a new documentary. But again, if you already own the 4K here, I don't know if I'd double dip just for the sake of this new documentary. There was also a steelbook release of this package available, but again, I guess that really depends if you're a steelbook collector. My final verdict is this: if you don't yet own Jaws in 4K, this 50th anniversary release, either the regular release I have or the steelbook, is the version to get. If you already have the 4K release from a few years ago, I wouldn't rush out and buy it just for the sake of this documentary, even though said documentary is very nice. So you should own Jaws in 4K in some shape or form either way. It's one of the greatest films of all time, arguably Steven Spielberg's finest film, and one that stands the test of time like no other. How about you? What did you think of Jaws? Do you think it's Steven Spielberg's best movie? Comment down below and let me know what you think. Also, remember to subscribe to this channel for more content. I'm always posting new videos, and make sure you give this one a like if you found it helpful. I'm Joe T. Carlson. I'll see you next time.